Fifth grade, once you've finished using oil pastel to go over all of your lines, now we can grab our paints, and you can also grab your water and paintbrush. For this project, we're going to be focusing on for color using tertiary colors. Tertiary colors are the colors between the primary and secondary colors. For example, yellow and green, in between your primary yellow and your secondary green, you're going to get yellowish green. The yellowish green is what's called a tertiary color. So you'll be able to decide which primary and which secondary color you're going to use, and the color that they mixed together to get is your tertiary colors. Because we're in fifth grade, we're going to use multiple of these to create each one of our animals. Our shapes have been defined already before we started adding in the geometric shapes. My ears are their own organic shape. The face of my hippo is another organic shape. The snout and mouth is a shape, and the body is a shape. Each one of these areas we want to alternate so that way those stand out. Similar to when we did our Paul Klee paintings back in either kindergarten or first grade, where you needed to select either warm colors versus cold colors. For this animal, it'll probably be more appropriate if you are switching when you go from area to area. So for example, if I stick with my yellow and my green for my ears, I'm going to want to change my colors for my face, but go back to my yellow and green for my snout, and then the colors I use for my face would be the exact same colors I would use for my body, creating a warm versus cold pattern. Once you've decided on your colors, you can go ahead and begin painting by dipping in your brush. Please remember, the more spins in the paint, the brighter your color is going to be, and the lighter your color is going to be. Many times kids are trying to create more of a pink color, but there is no pink on our palette. But by simply using lots of water and maybe only a dab of red, that'll create the pink color that you would be looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and use red for mine as my primary color, and the color next to it for secondary, I'm going to use orange, and that's going to create my tertiary color of reddish orange. So I'll spin my brush in the red. I'll paint my first shape red, and we are using patterns in which we talked about in our first project. So I'll paint my second shape red also, because that's my tertiary color where I'll be mixing two colors. When you switch colors, rinse in your water, painting small circles in the bottom of your cup. Grab your secondary color. So I'll go from red Now I want to make my reddish orange. So with the orange on the brush, I'm just going to mix my paints right on the paper. If you want your reddish orange to be more orange, you'll leave it with more orange. If it looks too much like orange and you want some red, you can go ahead and get a few spins of red and add it to your orange and keep mixing until you get a color that is different than your true red and your true orange, and you'll move on to your next area. Again, doing the same pattern. For me, my pattern is going to go red, red, orange, orange, red, red, orange, orange, and I'll do that for my ears, and I'm going to do it for my snout area. Just really quickly before you move on to 2 other colors. Again, using these same colors for your entire animal isn't wrong. Everything's just going to blend together. It's going to be very hard to know where one thing begins and one thing ends. So if you want things to stand out more, this would be the time where you switch your colors. And going across on the color wheel from warm to cold is going to give you a high contrast, meaning things are going to jump out and stand out a lot more. So I have done every other large shape with my warm colors, and now with my remaining 2 shapes, I'm going to switch to 1 cold primary, 1 cold secondary to create a tertiary color. So each one of these big shapes is going to have 3 colors. My snout has an orange, a red, and a reddish orange. If you did not do 3 colors, you're going to want to go back in and add your primary and secondaries together to create that tertiary color for this project. Anytime your water gets too dirty, you can go ahead, bring it to the sink, dump it out, get fresh water, clean out your brush. But since I started with warm colors and I'm moving my way into cold colors, I can just keep the same water because the dark colors of the cold are going to be more powerful than the colors I'm using. So there's no reason to have clean water. I can get more done if I just sit at my table and keep working. For my next part, I am going to go ahead and do my blue as a primary, my green as a secondary to create a tertiary color of bluish green. Once you're done painting, you can go ahead, and what I would do before I put it on the drying rack is I would make sure that I'm happy with everything. The nice thing about watercolor paints is it's really easy to change things, especially if you're going darker. So if you have any areas where you ended up having to put the same color next to the same color, where it's a green next to a green, at least we could change it to a darker green. Like for here, for instance, we have a light green, we have a dark green, and then we have our tertiary color of bluish green. That way it's not the same color being repeated over and over and over again. Again, part of the fun of this project is the variety of colors that we are using. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna let this dry because we need it to be dry to add all the fun details of eyes, nose, mouth, tongues, and even some of you have stripes or patterns from your animals that we are going to use pattern paper for to add on those details. If you're happy with what you have and there's no white spaces inside your animal, go ahead and put it in the rack for today.